Today is July 31st, 2019. I'm just getting word of this by sifting through CDL Life here.com. And this was posted April 2nd, 2019, but it's being not widely reported and swept underneath the carpet. If you're a over-the-road or local truck driver, regardless of what type of rig you drive, from what I can gather, whether it's a straight truck or a tandem or a tractor trailer or whatever, dump truck, straight truck, box truck, tractor trailer, tanker driver, doesn't matter. Starting in 2020, I'm going to read it and go over it very slowly. So if you're a truck driver or you're wanting to get into this shady, seedy, corrupt business of driving a truck, then pay attention. Truckers must register with Federal Drug Database to change jobs starting in 2020. Starting in 2020, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Association, trucking employers, state driver's license agencies, and law enforcement officials will have real-time access to truck driver drug and alcohol violation information. Now let me get this straight. It doesn't mean that if you have drug violations you have to register, or alcohol violations. Every single truck driver that holds a CDL, whether it's a Class B or a Class A, they're going to require you, the way I understand this, that you have to register with this federal drug database before you can even change jobs. And here's the problem I got with that. It already takes most of these companies, not all of them, but a vast majority of them, 2 to 4 weeks for them to process your application, check out your background, and send you down for a drug test. 2 to 4 weeks. And you say, well, why is that? Well, because they don't have enough staff to handle all the applications. The staff that processes your application does not work late. They're usually from 7 to 3:30, 8 to 4, 9 to 5, and they go home. The fact you're wanting to leave where you're at or you're unemployed, they don't care. I've already been through this many a times. You apply on Monday, by Friday they still don't know anything because they haven't got around to you. It might be next week or the week after, or the week after, or the week after. Then they'll call you for a drug and DOT test, and you go down and take it. And you're waiting 3 or 4 days, and they wonder why they can't find drivers. Qualified drivers. They have turned what used to be a good blue-collar job for most of us people, professional drivers, and I'm one of them with over 30 years, with no accidents and tickets, and no DUIs or DWIs, because I don't drink or do drugs. No accidents or tickets at all. Never jackknifed, never rolled one, never tipped an end dump over, never had any issues. But they hired all these idiots out here, these big corporations, these big motor carriers, hired all these foreigners over the last 20, 25 years, and hired people that should have never been behind a truck in the first place because they just don't have it. Now we got to subject ourselves to all this other bullshit, along with not only a 30-page job application, which is what most of them are handing out now. I got 3 in there now, just for grins, from different companies. 30 pages. I think one of them is 27. for a job driving a frickin' truck. Yeah, a 27 to 30 page job application. You'd think I was applying to be a NASA scientist, or work for the CIA, or work in some nuclear facility making nuclear bombs or something. A 28 to 30 page job application to drive a fucking truck. Are you shitting me? Let's get on with the rest of the damn story. They've ruined trucking. The big motor carriers, who are responsible for 80% of this over the years. The ATA, the American Trucking Association, which is nothing but a lobbying group of washed-up, degenerate former politicians, which is what it is, the ATA. Nothing but a bunch of washed-up, degenerate politicians that lobby the government to make it harder for us to make a living. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration has set out new rules that will require truck drivers to register with a federal database before they are allowed to change jobs. Boy, if this doesn't sound like frickin' communism. I guarantee you some Democrat thought this up. Some liberal. Starting on January 6, 2020, truck drivers, commercial drivers, truck drivers, who wish to change jobs will be required to register with the FMCSA, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Association's Commercial Driver's License Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse as part of their employment-related background check. Voluntary registration will begin in October of 2019, this year. Voluntary, before it becomes mandatory on January 6, 2020. I'll leave this here for a minute for you to read it. This is the paragraph I'm at, highlighted in blue. Because on January 6, 2020, it's going to become mandatory for drivers who wish to change jobs. But right now, it's voluntary registration will begin in October 2019. So don't misconstrue it. Don't spin it. It's not totally voluntary. It's voluntary as of October 2019 until January 6, 2020. So read it, comprehend it, understand what you're reading. The clearinghouse is a secure federal database that provides supposed real-time information about CDL driver drug and alcohol violations. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Association and commercial vehicle employers, state driver's licensing agencies, and law enforcement officials will all have complete access to the clearinghouse. Doesn't really say who this clearinghouse is, but I have a good idea who it is. As in my previous video about hire right. And it goes on to say, all CDL driver drug and alcohol test failures will be recorded in the clearinghouse. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but we've seen in the past where they ship those urine analysis out with a courier, and somehow along the way they get mixed up. We've seen that before. report for duty, remain on duty for safety-sensitive function with alcohol concentration of 0.4 or greater, or while using any prohibited drug. That kind of worries me, a prohibited drug. What if you have a head cold and you take some over-the-counter prescriptions while you're out there on the road till you can get back home? And say something happens, you get in a minor accident, or you're driving for an employer and they send you down for a drug test. Boy. Now, I can understand they're looking for cocaine, marijuana, meth, LSD, heroin. I can understand that. But it's not real specific as to what they call a prohibited drug or drugs. Alcohol use while performing or within 4 hours of performing a safety-sensitive function. Alcohol use within 8 hours of a post-accident alcohol test. Test positive for specific drugs. This could include a post-crash test or a pre-employment drug screening or a random drug test. Refusing to submit to a required alcohol or drug test. The clearinghouse will also contain information on whether a CDL holder has completed the necessary procedures to return to duty after a failed drug or alcohol test. When truck drivers begin to register on January 6, 2020, they will effectively be giving current or future employers permission to view any drug or alcohol violations on their electronic records. Well, let's hope they don't get the names mixed up, because there's a lot of people out there with the same names, and it could easily get mixed up, as we've seen before. You can't just assume these people with this clearinghouse know what they're doing. As with Hire Right, they don't know what they're doing. See my earlier 2.5-hour video on that. It's in my channel. Hire Right, a background checks company that does background checks on truck drivers. 2.5-hour video. I suggest you watch it. Drivers will also be able to view their own drug and alcohol violation records online using the clearinghouse, and will be able to dispute any errors in the database. Here's what it doesn't tell you. How much are they going to charge us? Is it going to be free for us? Or are they going to charge us $15 or $25? It doesn't say, does it? How convenient. Until January 6, 2023, trucking companies will be required to access the clearinghouse in addition to requesting traditional drug and alcohol violation histories from a driver's previous employers. Now, I'm going to stop here because this brings up something I've been running into, as well as some other older experienced drivers. I'm going to highlight this, and I want you to understand what I'm getting ready to tell you. Well, required to access the clearinghouse in addition to requesting traditional drug and alcohol violations, histories from a driver's previous employers. Well, how are they going to do that? Let me guess. You're just going to fax them over or email them, or call them up on the phone, or snail mail, U.S. Postal Mail, some histories of a previous driver's employer, right? Wrong. I'm going to tell you why. Because right now, and it has been this way for the last 20 years, a lot of these companies are no longer in business. They filed for bankruptcy. So how are you going to get those previous drivers' employer histories on anything? They're going out of business, these trucking companies, faster than I can blink three eyes or my eyelids. If you keep up with what's going on, just since April of 2019, there's been approximately 30 decent-sized motor carriers go out of business, close their doors, and file for bankruptcy. For those of you that don't know and don't keep up, it's right here on CDL Life. You just have to sift through it all. At least 30 of them. And there's going to be more. So I'd like to know how they plan on getting all this previous employers' information that aren't in business anymore. Because you can't contact them. Because there's no phone number, no fax number. They're shut down. They're gone. How are you going to get it? I got companies I've worked for 10, 15 years ago that are no longer in business. A couple of the guys retired, auctioned off all their equipment, and the rest of them filed for bankruptcy and went out of business. And if they can't verify by calling them up or sending an email or a hard letter to any of these former employers that are no longer in business, a lot of these newer idiots that work in these corporate offices that are between 20 and 30 years old, they're so damn stupid and ignorant and incompetent and inept, they won't hire you because they've never heard of these companies. Well, it's probably true. You weren't around 20, 30 years ago either. They think you're making shit up. It's getting to the point, and they wonder why they can't find frickin' drivers. Well, look at who you got working in your corporate offices that are clueless dipshits. Seriously, it's unfathomable how dumb and ignorant some of these people are that work in these corporate offices and human resources and driver managers and terminal managers. They don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. After 2023, the past 3 years of drug and alcohol violation information will all be stored in the clearinghouse, and manual record requests will no longer be required. Yeah. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Association says that the new clearinghouse is designed to help employers, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Association, state driver's licensing agencies, and state law enforcement to quickly and efficiently identify drivers who are not legally permitted to operate commercial vehicles due to drug and alcohol program violations. Now I'm going to stop right there too. We'll highlight this paragraph. It says, efficiently identify drivers who are not legally permitted to operate commercial vehicles due to drug and alcohol program violations. Where is your database to identify drivers who are here in this country illegally with no green card? They're not citizens and cannot speak, read, or write English. Federal Motor Carrier Safety Association and DOT, where's that database? As I refer to the Denver truck accident, where he come off the grade, lost his brakes, passed a runaway truck ramp that was clearly marked because he was from Cuba. He could not read, write, or speak English and had to have a translator in court. Where is your clearinghouse database for that? You're so worried about taking truck drivers off the road that shouldn't be out there. I don't see any clearinghouse for that. Let's back up to New Hampshire. June 2019. We got another truck driver. Hotshot truck driver. Pickup truck pulling a trailer. Up in New Hampshire. Ran over 10 Harley riders that were members, former Marines of the group Jarheads. Marines, U.S. Marines, ran over 10 bikers on Harleys and killed 7 of them. Where's your database for all these illegals that you're bringing in over across the border, all you democratic, communist, socialist, Marxist liberals? I'll tell you what this boils down to. They're trying to put the American truck driver out of work. That's exactly what they're trying to do with all this shit. And they're going to let these illegals come over here and get in these trucks and drive them. And it's, for some reason, not going to be a problem. You watch. So they're going to put us out of work, and they're going to let all these illegals come over here like they're already doing. They're already giving them driver's licenses. They're going to go ahead and give them commercial driver's licenses. They got us jumping through all these hoops, doing backflips. How much you want to bet? They won't have to, because they're not from this country. See where this is going? This is an invasion and total and complete communism by the Democratic liberals. We already see that most of these illegals over here are able to get loans to buy trucks, convenience stores, motels, and hotels. We can't get them, but they can. And it's not just illegals from Mexico. I'm talking Guatemala, Honduras, Russia, the Ukraine, the Middle East. It's getting to the point, people. They're gonna. I'll tell you what's gonna happen. You're not gonna have any food and supplies, not only on the grocery store shelves. They're gonna be bare like Venezuela. You're gonna walk into Home Depot and Lowe's and other retail chains, and there's not gonna be much there. And I think that's why we're seeing a retail apocalypse. They're getting ready for this. All these stores that are shutting down across the country, they already see what's going on. And they're getting out of it. These Democrats, these communist, socialist, Marxist liberals, are hell-bent on turning the United States into a third world country. And they're going to put us out of work doing it. You watch. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Association says that the clearinghouse will increase highway safety by making it harder for truck drivers to conceal drug and alcohol violations from their current or previous employers. Well, I disagree. I'm going to tell you why. As soon as I get this highlighted. Will increase highway safety. I got that highlighted for a reason. For those of you who don't know and have not been in this business as long as I and lots of others have, remember, I got 30 plus years. I started off with a truck driver license back in 1983. I'm grandfathered in. It was a chauffeur's license then. A, B, that's all we had. A and B. Chauffeur's license is what they called it. And then about 1992, 93, the DOT and the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Association decided they wanted to increase highway safety. And they wanted to make it a little harder to get a commercial driver's license. So they came out with a CDL, commercial driver's license, from a chauffeur's license to a CDL. And again, they promoted highway safety. which all turned out to be bullshit. What it boiled down to was they changed it from a chauffeur's license to a CDL and charged you more money for it to get that license. Most of the states did. So now you're paying an average of $5 to $10 more for that CDL than what the chauffeur's license cost you. It was all a money grab. It had nothing to do with highway safety, not one damn thing. They can say that, but that's just words. That's bullshit, and they know it. How can they preach highway safety when they're letting all these illegals come over here that can't speak, read, or write English and drive these trucks? How can they let all these illegals come across the border with their trucks and they're not supposed to, but they do? I don't see any enforcement on that. So you're letting all these Middle Easterners, Ukrainians and Russians, Mexicans, Hondurans and El Salvadorans, and South Africans come up here to take our jobs. And that's what it boils down to. They can say what they want, but they're lying out their ass. Because I've seen it firsthand. All you got to do is walk into any Freightliner dealership in any big city and go to the parts counter in any big city. Whether it's Chicago, St. Louis, Kansas City, Indianapolis, Dallas, Houston, Phoenix, LA, Cincinnati, Detroit, and you're going to be surprised at what's there trying to order parts, because they don't do a very good job of speaking English. Foreign truck drivers trying to get their Freightliners fixed, ordering parts. And for you parts people out there, you know what I'm talking about, because you can't understand them half the time. So they're trying to put the American truck driver out of work. And they're doing it. And they're going to make it really hard for most of you now to get a job driving a truck. It's damn near that way now. It has nothing to do with safety. They blow smoke up everybody's ass because it sounds good. It's to put the American truck driver out of work. We've already seen how many accidents out here within the last couple of years with all these foreigners. They're letting them come over here. They're giving them driver's licenses. They're getting all kinds of entitlements. And all they're doing is making our job, our life, that much harder to be able to support ourselves. A 28 to 30 page job application. Then you got to go down and take a drug test and DOT physical. Then you got to wait. And then they want to put you through this company called Hire Right. And if you go look at that video on I'll put a link below this video. You can watch it. It's 2.5 hours long. Hire Right was caught by the Department of Justice and the Federal Trade Commission lying on people's background checks, providing false information. And I show that in the video. Most people don't know that. A lot of companies, terminal managers and human resource managers, they don't know that. But it's in that video. It's not some blog that somebody wrote. It's actual Department of Justice website and Federal Trade Commission website. That's where I got it from. Well, after 30 years, 2019, I'm going to hang it up. I'm done. I'm not jumping through any more hoops. Most of these trucking jobs do not pay and have the benefits that are worth a shit anyway. That's why these companies are going out of business left and right. I'm going to try to do a video on that and show just how many trucking companies have been going out of business. I'll try to do that sometime in August. And we're not talking 4 or 5 here. We're not even talking 10. We're talking literally hundreds. So, 2019 will be my official get out of the trucking business. After 30 plus years of no accidents, no tickets, never jackknifed, never laid one over. I've ran the West Coast. I've ran the East Coast. I've been up all through Canada. I've ran the Middle East. I've ran snowstorms, ice storms out in Colorado, Oregon, Utah, Nevada, Montana, Washington State, Northern California. Blizzard conditions in the Midwest. Never had an accident. Never jackknifed or rolled one over. I've pulled reefers, vans, tankers, doubles, triples, 2 48-foot trailers, lowboys, hauling heavy equipment and machinery. They've ruined my career with their bullshit. Both the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Association, the DOT, the jugheads that don't know what they're doing, as well as the big motor carriers. And I blame J.B. Hunt, Swift, and Warner Enterprises. Those are the three big ones for all this. As well as some smaller carriers who don't want to pay any money and want to hire these foreigners and inexperienced drivers. And I do mean inexperienced. They have no business out there in the first place. They ruined my career that I grew up since I was 10 years old wanting to do. You know, Sonny Pruitt and Will Chandler of Moving On TV show got me started in this. The TV show Moving On, as well as Jan Michael Vincent from the 1975 movie White Line Fever and the Blue Mule. That's what got me into trucking. I wanted to do it. It looked like fun. Make some money, see the country, provide a good living for myself. And they ruined it. I've drove end dumps, belly beds, barrel, all kinds of end dumps, tankers, bulk trailers, reefers, vans. I've drove Pete's and Kenworths mainly. Decent trucks, nice trucks. Never drove any of those piece of shit Freightliners. And that's another thing that I want to touch base on is back when I was driving, we still had real trucks that looked like real trucks. Now they got all you drivers out there driving these short hood, plastic pieces of shit with the engine sitting halfway back in the cab and a little short hood with no protection in front of you at all. It's as bad as a cab over. There's no difference. Yeah, you got a hood out there, but it's a fantasy because it ain't going to protect any of you drivers at all, and we're seeing that in all these crashes. They did away with the cab overs because nobody wanted to drive them, and they were hard to get in and out of. And they were. But these new plastic pieces of shit they're offering everybody, and it's not just Freightliner and Volvo. It's Peterbilt and Kenworth, too. And Mack. I'm about to hang it up. 2019, around October, end of October, sometime in November, I'm done. Fuck it, I'm done. I don't want anything to do with driving a truck ever again. I'm going to hang it up. I've got other experience in doing other things, and I will go do it. But I'm done with this shit. And to you new people that are coming into this, my suggestion is to you to hang it up. Go find another career. Find you another occupation that will benefit you, and you don't have to jump through all these hoops and bullshit. Because trucking ain't it. If you want to see the country, and you like traveling, My suggestion is you do it on your own time in your own vehicle. When you get a vacation or on a weekend or whatever. Don't do it in one of these trucks. They're dangerous. And the DOT and the Highway Patrol are just waiting to nail you for anything. Anything. And we're not talking cheap fines either. So, do it in your own car, your own time, at your own leisurely pace. But leave these trucks alone. Let them sit and rot. Because you're going to see a whole lot of owner-operators, independents, putting their rigs up for sale. And you're going to see a whole lot of companies auctioning off their equipment, their trailers, their trucks. They're going to scale back down to a 20, 30, 40 truck operation. If they don't go bankrupt and out of business. Truck prices are high. Trailer prices are high. Maintenance and upkeep is high. Getting it permitted and licensed for the road is high. Insurance is high. And freight rates are cheap. Now, how do you expect to stay in business? And California and places like New Jersey, New York want you to have these APUs because they don't want trucks idling because I ain't even going to get into that, but a typical APU from Carrier, brand new, fully installed at the Carrier dealer, which is a refrigeration dealer that works on reefer units. In February, I asked the service manager at Carrier how much a brand new APU cost, fully installed. Here's what he told me. And this was on a brand new customer truck that I took from the dealership down there. Not mine. Between $15,000 and $18,000. And some can get up to $25,000. But between $15,000 and $18,000 fully installed. Now imagine buying a truck brand new, Kenworth or Pete, for $120,000, $125,000, $30,000. And you still have to go down and buy an APU unit for between $15,000 and $20,000 and have it installed. And you haven't even got it licensed or put fuel in the tanks yet. And if you're an independent and you run your own authority and you got your own trailer, well, a brand new reefer trailer is like $80,000 to $100,000 now. So you got almost $250,000 wrapped up in something that you're not going to make much money at. And it's going to be constant maintenance. Constant maintenance. Tires aren't cheap. Brakes ain't cheap. Injectors aren't cheap. Turbos aren't cheap. And they want you to have all this ELD shit in your truck. Electronic logs. And this DEF shit. This diesel exhaust fluid. Well, that don't last all year. So that's another expense now we got to pay for. This DEF bullshit. On top of the ELDs. On top of all this other crap. The big carriers, the government, DOT, and the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Association are putting us out of business. That's what you're aiming to do. And they can lie about that all they want. They're going to put the truckers out of business. First, it's the independents with their own authority and their own trailers. And then it's going to be the owner-operators who are leased onto a company. And then it's going to start affecting the companies, and we're already seeing it. I will try to touch base on this sometime in August and show you all the trucking companies that have went out of business just since January of 2019, and then I'll back it up to all the years and decades previously. Clear back to the 1980s. The ones I can find and remember. We'll start from the beginning. We'll work our way backwards in another video. It'll probably be quite lengthy, because my videos tend to be kind of lengthy. But I wanted to bring this all to your attention. Because this is not being widely talked about, and I'm afraid it's going to catch a lot of you off guard. And guess what? There's going to be one hell of a lot of truck drivers out of work. They didn't know about it. They didn't hear about it. And you damn sure aren't going to receive anything in the mail about it. And I don't hear it widely talked about. You're going to be out of a job. If you don't like where you're at, driving where you're at, you're not going to be able to leave where you're at. They got you trapped. And I don't know what happens if you don't register. Didn't really say. So, we got a whole new set of problems out there. I don't, because I'm getting out of it. I'm done. I've had enough. This micromanagement and all this bullshit, I'm tired of it. It was fun. I'm glad I got to see what I did over the years, the decades. Got to drive the equipment that I did and worked for the guys I did. Mainly my friends who own trucks, Kenworths and Pete's. But it's over. I want to see the country. I'll go do it on my own time, in my own car. I am not interested in driving for any of these companies making these meager wages with shitty benefits, only to find out after you've been with them 5 years, oh, they're going out of business. They're filing for bankruptcy. I have kept my nose clean to the grindstone since I started this deal. I've never had an accident, a jackknife. I've never rolled one. I've never put one in a ditch. I've never turned any of my end dumps over. And I'm talking trailers, not just tandems. I busted my ass for this. This was my life. To keep my nose clean and maintain a damn near perfect driving record. When I say damn near, I'm talking, I've had a few flats. I've ripped a few mud flaps off in my lifetime. Broken a few airlines. But I'll be damned if I'm going to stoop to this new low that these government regulations and these big corporate motor carriers, trucking companies, want me to stoop to. Ain't going to happen. Ain't going to happen. And going out and buying my own truck, it ain't going to be no better. You still got to submit to the same bullshit. So I guess I'll just go buy me a bulldozer. If I want to play around on heavy equipment or a track hoe, I'll do it out in my pasture. Because trucking's gone. I'm done with it. Time to move on and find something else to do while I'm still halfway at a decent age and got my health. Because this shit here is going to kill me. I can't deal with it. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. It's not worth jumping through all these hoops. 28 and 30-page applications. Having to register online. Having to submit to all these background checks. Criminal background checks. And financial background checks. It's out of hand. For a truck driving job. I'm not applying to be a NASA scientist. I'm not applying to work in a nuclear bomb factory. I'm not applying to work in some sensitive high area. This is driving a truck from one state to another or across the country. I'm not applying to be a rocket scientist. But you government people, you dipshits out there, and you corporate motor carrier jugheads out there, you ruined it. you're also shooting yourself in the foot. You're just too stupid and ignorant to realize it. But it's coming. That's all I have to say. Thank you for watching.